Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Jessica and today I'm going to be showing you how I made my Freya cosplay from God of War Ragnarok. I am a massive simp for this series and I played all the games back in the day. But I will say that the newest reboots are probably my favorite. I have always wanted to cosplay from this series in some capacity. So when Alana Pierce asked me to help her with her walkout for her boxing match, I said, yeah, mate. Australians, all let us rejoice. We lost the cricket quite a lot. Alana boxed for Creator Clash. Creator Clash is a content creator boxing event put together by Anissa, Ian, and Real Good Touring that hosts a plethora of content creators who just beat the out of each other, all for charity. Each content creator does a little walkout, and depending on what they want to do, they could do something with like a little bit of pizzazz. And since Alana works for Santa Monica Studios on the Ragnarok games, she wanted to do something that was God of War themed. She even got Kratos to do a little voice line for her, and so it was just this like very good reason to cosplay Hot Deadly Mom, okay? I got into a gnarly ski accident, so that cut my crafting abilities down. You underestimate how much of the ground you occupy when you're a little goblin crafter. So I had to recruit some help from some friends to make this costume really come together, but I'm so glad I did because they nailed it and I would not have been able to do this without them. So a village creates a scary, sexy Viking war mother. Am I wrong? Because of that though, I was scrambling. It was a mad dash making this costume. So if there's any way that you absorb any information from any of this, I am going to be so surprised. This is more of a cornucopia of than it is a tutorial. So take that with a grain of salt as you venture forward. I know you'll forgive me for the discombobulation of this crafting video because I made a hot MILF mum set as well. You're welcome. All right, that's enough. Let's craft.
All right, we're gonna start with a leather top. I love making my own patterns for tops, so I had Ryan saran wrap me and then cover me in painter's tape. I then cut myself out like a butterfly bursting from its chrysalis and started to pattern. I am more bubular than our girl Freya, so I'll kill you. I needed to get this pattern perfect because I will be working with pleather for this top. This is the thing to do if you need a super specific pattern made to your measurements without doing the fancy seamstress mode stuff. I hate sewing, so I just imagined I was using craft foam and bitch, I did it. Cut your pieces out after you've sketched out your pattern, lace them onto your fabric, trace them out, give it some seam allowance, and then cut it all out. Make sure to mark and number all of your individual pieces because you will sew them wrong, and I've done that many times. Since you will be doing a curvular shape for your boobs, make sure you use lots of pins when you're pinning everything, and then just sew it all together. I did have to make a bunch of adjustments once I put this on because I wanted it to be nice and snug and tight and curved to my body more, but for the first round, it was pretty good. I made a little collar trim out of 2 pieces of pleather, turned that inside out, and then sewed it on, and I was happy. Look at that, that looks sick. Also, the editing makes it look like this happened a lot faster than it did, but it really took me all day and I hate it. Weathering time. Fabric was not the exact color that I wanted, so I just hit it with some paint. That's one of my favorite things about working with pleather is that you can just change the color if you need it to. And if it's a rustic, kind of organic looking costume, the more roughed up and scuffed up, the better. There are all these little stitches all over her top, so I just popped some holes all over it and then threaded them out. Aesthetic stitches always make things look really rusticy and Viking-y, like she's holding her shirt together with the tears of her dead son.
I still think it's too soon to bring him up.
POV, it's time for Ryan to saran wrap you because it's time to make other parts of the shirt. Oh my god, is that a fake nerd shirt from Hot Topic? Oh my god, go get one now. Freya's top is layered, but we are not doing layers. We are going to make fake layers. I took some black pleather and scalloped the frickadoodle out of some pieces to create some nifty little layers. This took ages. Everything on this costume took ages. She's deceptively difficult. And then I loop stitched some thread at the end to make it a little bit more finished looking. Once it was all done, I sewed it onto the top. Look at these cute little sleeves. Fantastic. Now to be cheeky, I just sewed the front of the top together and added a zipper in the back. We are cheating. I don't know who needs to hear this, but costumes do not have to be functional. You're gonna add zippers and Velcro and sneaky little flaps. Speaking of sneaky flaps, I added this like leotard underneath to make it so the shirt would fit flush against my body, and it helps so much. It just goes underneath the pants that I made later on. It does look horrendous without pants on though.
Woman, guard the house. I will go to catch fish in the river.
The little scallop black pleather parts would technically be connected to the neck part, so we're gonna do that again, taking my painter's tape and cutting out and making my own little neck pattern. This took so long. It took like a full day, and it's just the smallest little piece. But I created my own little pattern, I made my own little collar, and then I scalloped the heck out of it. It looked great. Collars are my least favorite thing to make on costumes because they have to be perfect and they have to sit right, and if you don't get it right, they're gonna pinch your jugular and then you're gonna pass out at the convention. I used my little leather punch to punch some holes, and then I used brads to add all the studs to make it look like like leather pleather realness. I always try to use pleather with my projects. It's less expensive, less stiff, less stinky. Although sometimes pleather smells like pussy. And if you know, you know. I used this Yaya Han black pleather and it was so thin, it was so easy to work with and absolutely perfect for this neck piece. Thank you very much, Yaya Han. Cut little holes and then place your brads in to make it look like actual real leather studs. You can actually just get these in your scrapbooking section at Michael's. All of my gold pieces were made by Drake, Habiteer Workshop, because I was working on a crazy time crunch. So thank you, Drake, you're god. I just stuffed this into my collar, into my throat. Into my shirt on the day and just pinned it, and it worked perfectly. Next was the pants. Now all I had to do is grab some fabric for this. Then Ryan, you do the rest.
Oh, you get some pants and then you pin it together as seen here and make some. There's a fold across.
What's the fold
stitch.
for?
I gotta go.
It's for elastic. Yeah, you just do that. You add elastic to the top parts with those channels and then the bottom parts so you can make them all bunched up so you can make that harem style pants. I've done this before with my Inosuke pants and my goblin pants. So yeah, I was looking up references for the costume and Freya and Baldur wear the same kind of pants. So maybe she pulled them off of her dead son's corpse. Dead Son's clothes haul. Next was Freya's booty cover, cape, cloak, skirt, cloth. I'm sure this was once some epic piece of garb or perhaps like a torn up flag, definitely something from a long time ago. Whatever it is, all I know is that the details are gorgeous and were a pain in the dickus to paint. I spent all day watching documentaries and just binging YouTube videos for this to never be seen! So by principle, I'm going to linger on this bit a little bit longer than I should. Just look at it. You should just be proud of me. If you're a cosplayer, what's a piece of something that you worked on that took so damn long that barely gets seen? Share with me your pain. I know you're out there and I know that's happened. I eyeballed the pattern from the glorious cosplay references the team dropped. I'd love a look at the individual layers next time. Please, game companies. I hand sketched it with pastels and then went over those sketches with fabric paint. I fell in love with the look this created because the chalk would rub off whenever my hand would pass over it and created this natural dusty weathered look. I love it. In the end, I added more chalk to really filthy it up and then I spent about 2 hours dremeling it. Once that was all completed, I moved on to the other leather bits and pieces around her waist. I did not have any pleather that I liked that was the right color, so I just took this blue crocodile stuff and painted it. I have a lot of this stuff, so tell me what I could make with this. Remember, pleather loves paint, so just paint it if you don't have the right color. Get thrifty, baby. I don't use real leather in my projects because it's just, I don't know, I hate working with it, but if you must have leather, I highly recommend hitting up a thrift shop and grabbing an old jacket or an old purse. I was able to achieve this look just with regular puffy paint and acrylics. Once I was all done with that, I just sewed it together and then slipped it on the day over my pants. Next is I will not lie to you, this is easily my least favorite part of the whole costume, this fucking back net. So I shouldn't have done this, but I had some old macrame hanging plant basket nets that I was like, I'll take this part and use these and save on thread because I'm a thrifty little whore. Regret. Just buy the spool of thread, go. I spent more time unfurling this than I did actually creating the I'm never doing this again. I am not savvy in the way of crochet. I ruined my back. I thought this was going to take no time at all. It took 2 whole days. The only thing this little cape is good for is that it hides all of my sins in the back of the costume. That's your only purpose. That's your only value in this world. Once I had finished weaving my tears deep into the threads of this hanging basket of depression, I dipped at it to give it a little bit more oomph. Technically the cape is attached to her top, but I needed to make this detachable so I could plop my wings on and off, so I made these little cape toppers. Very cool. The waist belt! I am obsessed with this aesthetic the whole game has when it comes to these big chunky waist belts. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, the ease of this whole piece of this costume would not have been possible if not for the Freya tutorial / walkthrough by Ebeline Cosplay. Please go check out this creator. Just being able to see what they did and how they did their belt made my brain work so much better on how to figure out how to do mine. So thank you. You fully saved my ass. All right, let's start. This golden medallion was made by Habiteer Workshop. So Drake's in the chat for Drake from Habiteer Workshop. Thank you, my guy. This whole belt has a leather base. So to start, I wrapped a mannequin like a sandwich and then slapped on some painter's tape. Then sketched out what shape I wanted and cut it off. Similar to the way you would make a corset, I cut the pattern in panels to make sure it would fit nice and snug around my waist, making sure to number and label all the pieces before transferring them to EVA foam for some added stability. When you are making your own EVA foam patterns, remember to make those registration lines so you can connect them correctly. so that you can connect them correctly when it's time. Trace everything out of EVA foam and your chosen pleather and then cut it all out. I made sure to add some seam allowance for the fabric since I would be sewing this all together before gluing it straight onto the foam. You can sew EVA foam to fabric, but for the sake of time and just for ease of life, I just glued this straight onto this. Glue it all together and then sew it all together. I know you'll forgive my horrendous tension bunches as I was in a rush and couldn't give a rat's ass about the bunched up stitching in these days of madness. I was entering into the crunch madness zone. Tell me you've just finished a season of Bridgerton without telling me you just finished a season of Bridgerton. I then placed the foam gently upon the fabric, moving slowly so I could work with the foam and fabric together evenly. Once they were on securely, I folded over the edges and glued down the flaps. I just used E6000 for this because I wanted it to be really secure. We ain't rolling with hot glue and hoe dreams today, okay? We need to make sure this was going to stay together real good. Why does this look like a Dark Souls boss? That set aside to dry, I had to make the little tummy protector in the middle. So, same deal. Pattern, EVA foam, fabric, glue, party. All the little bits and bobs I made out of pleather and just glued those right on with E6000. Sometimes it's okay to just glue shit together, ladies. Cut corners, live fun, have time. This had some aesthetic stitching as well, so I just popped some holes through the foam and pleather and then fed the cord through. To attach the belt sides to the front, I just used E6000 again. For all the studs and details, I used those trusty brads again. You can also use painted googly eyes if you want. Now for the little side belts. Like I said, I care not for functionality, but for looks, so I made these little belts out of EVA foam. Just measured out, cut some thin strips, glued them to the belt buckles, fed them through the huge belly coin, and then sealed, painted, and attached them. Before I finalized it all up with a hefty load of glue, I weathered the pleather on the belt, just making sure to hit the highlights and shadows to make it look like worn, hardy leather. Then it was time to clench my rectum as I stressfully placed the gorgeous piece by Drake upon the pleather home I had made for it. I did great. I don't know why I was stressed. Look at that, it's so good. And I attached the belt buckle. Added the belts. I was able to punch holes with a hole punch in the foam to do them up, and yeah. I was then rudely assaulted by some hot glue. I was trying to hot glue this fur onto the top and bottom, and a huge glob hit my leg, and before I could even register that hot glue had hit it, I whipped it off my leg and tore off a whole piece of skin, so don't say I never did anything for you, Freya. I too have bled for this family. To attach it, I just added some buckles in the back, and because we made the little Satan's death net of depression, I was able to hide all this. These are just regular buckles that you can add some nylon strapping to. These are what I use for practically everything. I use them all for my belt buckles, for my shoulder pads, all my attachments. They are the most sturdy and reliable thing. Freya has a bunch of these gorgeous wee details all over her belt, including this little keychain, belt ring, shy guy face looking thing. Drake made this as well, and I just added the braided cord. I took six pieces of cord, divided them into 3, braided them normally, and then coated them in brown. The result is nice. Hang on, I gotta go take a piss. Alana, you got this next part, right?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, you do. You'll be right.
Yeah, okay. So you grab your bits of fabric and you put them in boiling water. You boil the fabric and then, okay, and then you put it in a bucket first. What do you put? Maybe you put the boiling water in the bucket and the bucket has dye in it. And then you take little bits and you give them a thumbs up. You tell them you did a good job, little bits. And then your phone dies. Okay, so you carve your thing out of the thing you gave the thumbs up to, and then you draw a little dots around it. Multiple little dots around it on the fabric that you dyed, and then you do a little roll on it. Oh, is this? You make a stamp. Oh, I knew that. You're putting ink onto the stamp you made, and then you're putting the stamp on the fabric that you put in the boiling pot. Whoa! I mean, I knew that. Are you measuring them? Or you just so you don't have to measure them, and then you rub it fondly with chalk. You give it a good rub down with some chalk, make it look nice and dirty, and white chalk as well. Is that for like you got? Oh, for where you got like highlights and lowlights on it? That's really cool. I never would have thought to do that. That's genius. I mean, I knew that. I do that all the time. And then you have a whole bit of fabric with stamps and chalk on it. And now you can accomplish your dreams.
belts.
Freya's costume has a bunch of these belts and wraps all over her. I just took athletic tape, like athletic wrap, and dip dyed it, and then covered some of the pieces with puffy paint for the details. And they stuck to each other. It was great. I didn't have to worry about too much. It was awesome. Good hacks. Next is the gold skirt. Now this coin skirt, I can't talk. This coin skirt was all made by Drake. He individually made the pieces in 3D computer land and then 3D printed them, molded them, and sculpted them, and then added them all together. He said he hated doing this. So everyone, thank you, Drake. You saved my ass. If you don't have a 3D printer, you could honestly just make all these out of EVA foam and then do the details in puffy paint. Yeah. Freya is technically barefoot with wraps around her feet, but we ain't giving free toes today, so I just grabbed these shoes from a local thrift store and painted them up into a darker brown. My wig! Since I was on the time crunch of the century, I asked my mate Bindi Smalls to help me out. I said, girl, we gotta turn around faster than the Dickens. Are you up for it? And she was like, bet, easy. Bindi has been a 3D sculpting and printing pioneer in this community for a long time, and of course she's good at wigs too. But don't let my words try to convince you. Look at her work. She's amazing. Please hire her if you need her for any of the highest of quality of shit. Thank you, Natasha. You saved my butt along with everybody else that helped me with this. Okay, finally, I wanted some oomph with this costume because it is Freya. She's Queen of the Valkyries. She's amazing. So I actually hit up Crooked Feather, the creator of the Miss Ukraine wings that went viral, and this is what I got.
Hello. Okay, so I picked up the wings. This is the Crooked Feather. Please check them out on Instagram everywhere. They did the Ukraine wings from Miss Ukraine during the Miss Universe pageant.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, they're trying real hard.
Yeah, I gotta charge them.
Okay. Okay, well, let's go home and get these things charged. I wonder what the movement is. Did you watch the whole thing? Did you get enriched? Is your brain full of juice? Feel like you can craft Freya, the goddess Valkyrie of all of our dreams? Final thoughts? God of War, great game. Freya, hot. Honestly, this was such an honor to be asked to do something so, honestly, just important, and getting to do it with Opal Cosplay, Abby. Ryan and I adopted Abby immediately. I love you, Abby, wherever you are. Mika and Alana's fight was just incredible. Just being able to see two people work so hard for something and just being so passionate about that training, and just, you could just tell both Mika and Alana just gave it their all in that ring, and it was such a great match to watch. I want to be punched now. Somebody punch me. Ian and Anissa's event was just incredible. I'm obsessed with Creator Clash, and I want to go every year. It's so cool watching your favorite creators just duke it out for a good cause. An incredible thing. I also had an amazing time shooting this costume with some of my favorite people. It's always really awesome when a vision and everything just comes together in the right way with the right people, and it just feels really good. And it reminds me why cosplay for me will always just be like a true, genuine hobby. Yes, I do make money from it, and yes, I, gotta do what I gotta do to live a life. But at the end of the day, I love it. I love it. It's so fun. Again, though, mother's gonna pay her bills. I did do a lewd version, so please partake in that. Do me the honor. It looks sick. I went all in, okay? It is very, high quality MILF. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you have not. I am going to add a ton of God of War cosplayers at the end, so please stay and watch them and go find some more people and cosplayers to follow, because cosplay is wonderful and a connecting, bonding agent that will forever bring our world together if you remember the core, ultimate point. Costume play. What is life, if not temporary and fragile? Do not get skewed or influenced into thinking it is anything but a fucking good time.
Boy. Girl.
For your winner, by split decision, Alana Pierce!